Peace, peace, peace. What it is, it's your brother Tyvon Swindell, aka the Orthodox Moor, aka the Naturalist. And real quick, fam, I'm gonna do part one of a series on medicinal mushrooms that I told you I was gonna do in a previous video. This part one being on turkey tail mushroom, the turkey tail mushroom, and how it is a possible adjuvant therapy for cancer and for HIV. Um, so first and foremost, I'm gonna keep this real short and sweet. I don't want to take too much time on this because I could be here all day breaking down all kind of stuff on turkey tail. But y'all don't got time like that. Y'all got lives to live and places to go, people to see, people to take care of, people to love, all that kind of stuff. So let me just get into it and hopefully y'all can be edified by some stuff. So first and foremost, what is a turkey tail mushroom? What is the turkey? Let me just show you a picture real quick. First, why is it called the turkey tail mushroom? First of all, there's multiple varieties of turkey tail mushrooms. Multiple varieties. Multiple. But pretty much you can see, no matter which one I'm looking at, they all have this particular formation to them and ringing to them. These ringed lines on them that make them look like a turkey's tail or the tail of a turkey feathers. That's a great picture one right there. Looks like turkey feathers. Right? It's also commonly called cloud mushroom. It's also commonly called yuncha in Chinese medicine. It's also called kawaratake, excuse me, in Japanese medicine. Its Latin name is Trametes versicolor. It's also known in Latin as Coriolus versicolor. It's also known in Latin as Polyporus versicolor. What it actually is a polypore mushroom. Um, Polypore mushrooms are known as bracket fungi or shelf fungi or conks or wood conks. These are mushrooms that you typically find commonly growing on deadwoods, hardwoods, and they perform a really unique and interesting function in nature. They break down trees and dead trees, make dirt, and in a lot of ways, they're the immune system of nature. They will take nutrients from from dying trees, for instance, or nutrients from certain areas of the forest, and send it through a mycelial net through another all the way to another tree or to another part of the forest that needs it. Um, Mushrooms are a very interesting organism. A lot of people don't understand how they grow and actually how big of a space they can cover. Um, I'll actually break this down on another video, but but uh, mushrooms that you see above ground are typically called fruit bodies. What you don't see is the underground mycelial net that supports that fruit body, or the roots of the mushroom, so to speak. And these so-called roots can go for long distances, up and down multiple trees, um, and farther than what most people imagine. There's actually been recorded mycelial nets that have been, I believe, miles long. So, um, they're a very interesting organism. Um, like I said, they're typically called like wood conch or something like that. A lot of people know them by that name. And when you see them on trees, conchs are very interesting. They're almost like, if you think about like a cancer tumor and the way cancer grows and the way cancer spreads, um, it actually grows very similar to how mushrooms grow and how the mycelial nets grow and how the wood conchs grow. However, they have a different modus operandi. They're programmed to do different things. So cancer is designed to reprogram its host to feed it what it wants, and it's designed to spread and metastasize and go undetected in the system and take over cells, this, that, and the third, appropriate new cells, proliferate, and then break you down. Mushrooms do a very similar thing in the sense where, like, if I take some of the culture from these mushrooms and I put it in a living tree, it will eat the tree. It will devour the tree from the inside out, and it will grow mushrooms like it's a tumor on the outside. A conch looks like conchs grow like tumors, like I said. However, the difference is that that's if I inject the tree with the mushroom. Naturally, how it occurs is through a mycelial net, to where, again, they typically, not that they don't grow on living trees, but they typically grow on dying trees, dying or dead trees. So they'll still grow on a living tree, but typically it's a dying or dead tree, and the nutrients from that dying and dead tree, some of it's going into the fruit body, yeah, but there's a lot of aspects of it where it's getting transported from that tree through its mycelial net to other organisms, other plants, etc., other trees. I try to tell people a lot of times that mushrooms are the mother in Mother Nature, in that sense, to where mushrooms are the one in nature, like these woodcocks are the one in nature, making sure that the forest is. These are like the white blood cells of the forest, in a sense. But again, a really interesting way to think about them is that these woodconks are, these polypores are like the other side of a coin of a tumor. They grow the same way, but they have the opposite effect and the opposite way of thinking. So getting back into it, again, turkey tails, again, is commonly grown on dead hardwoods like oak, aspen, and elm, and other woods. I live in an area where there's a lot of aspen, for instance. Excuse me, alder as well. I should have put alder up there. Definitely should have put alder up there. A lot of alder in my area. I see turkey tail and alder all day up here. Like, and it's an interesting mushroom in the sense to where it grows in every state in the U.S. Although it's not yet wildly found in Nevada. But like, I got a homie in Georgia, right? He had this mushroom growing in his backyard off a tree. Like, down the street from my house, there's somebody who got this growing off their post office box, the wood off their post office box. You know what I'm saying? I had a next door neighbor who had this growing out of a lilac tree. Next to it, down the street again, next to a fire station. There's turkey tail growing on a log. I got pictures on my phone of turkey tail growing down at the park, down the street from my house. I live in Washington State. I got a homie in Georgia, and from Washington State to Georgia, you can find this commonly. Not a hard mushroom to find, and not a hard one to spot and identify, because of the fact that it looks like a turkey's tail. What's going on? It's an edible mushroom. It has like a really leathery texture, so you don't really eat the mushroom, but it's edible in the sense that people boil it down or use a boiled liquid of it, or use the boiled liquid thereof, and they use it for soups and they use it for teas. Now they do so, they eat it like that, but typically they eat it like that knowing that it's a medicinal mushroom, and so while it's edible in that sense. And I guess you could eat the leathery aspect of it. You just wouldn't want to. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's mad fiber. Like these wood conchs can get really woody in texture, if they go to a certain level. A lot of them are actually edible and taste fantastic, though. Taste fantastic. Some of them taste like beef. Some of them taste like shrimp or fish. Some of them taste like chicken. Some of them taste like cashews and almonds. All kind of stuff. A lot of these end up tasting like some kind of legume or nuts when you cook them. They have a really interesting nutty flavor to them. If you are someone who's and I'm not talking about turkeys. I'm talking about just like polypores and conchs and whatnot, like certain families or certain types of them. And I'll get into the edible ones later in a whole nother video. But what's interesting is a lot of these mushrooms can be edible and medicinal, and the, they can taste fantastic, fantastic. But moving right along. So, what are the medicinal benefits of the turkey tail mushroom? This is the part that I really wanted to focus on, and I'll walk through this real slow, because this is a real important part for people to understand, and why I'm talking about it being a potential adjuvant therapy or adjunct therapy for cancer and HIV. A lot of people, when they find out they have cancer, it's a kick in the stomach. It's a punch in the stomach like you wouldn't believe. It sits you down, and it makes you really reassess a lot of things, because cancer equals killer in most people's minds. And the biggest reason why I'm making these videos is so that people can recover from that gut punch, because when they hear cancer, they're conditioned to get that gut punch. I'm not as scared as the average individual, because I'm aware of the information I'm about to tell you here, and some other information I'm about to tell you later. And so I've had multiple conversations with people who just found out they had cancer. I had this conversation with myself as well. You know what I'm saying? As I've recently found out I have cancer. But you don't have to be scared when you find out that you have cancer. There's really no big reason why you should be scared. And the only reason why you are scared is because you're not being told certain things in certain ways to how you can potentially approach cancer. So I'm going to do my best to give people a different set of options here in terms of understanding. Again, an adjuvant therapy is not the main therapy that one uses. It's an add-on therapy. It's an adjunct therapy is an add-on therapy. So what I'm going to show you here is an adjuvant therapy that you can start right off the top the same day you find out you have cancer, and you don't really have to worry no more. So whatever other form of main treatment that you choose, this adjuvant therapy can help you right off the top to where you don't have to worry no more. And here's why. Turkey tails contain multiple protein-bound polysaccharides found beneficial in medical studies. It contains specifically the polysaccharide PSK, commercially produced as Krestin in China and Japan and in Asia. Now, Krestin, you need to understand this. Krestin has already made several hundreds of millions, if not billions at this point, in sales as an approved anti-cancer drug in Asia. This right here, Krestin, this is already being used in Japan, China, and other places in Asia. This is already an approved cancer drug in Asia. Okay? It is derived from the turkey tail mushroom, Krestin. This ain't a synthetic. This is the turkey tail. You feel what I'm saying? Right now, there's actually clinical trials going on in America right now to try to make a comparable drug as a pharmaceutical, not as a supplement, but as an actual pharmaceutical drug. Krestin is a pharmaceutical drug in Asia, used as an anti-cancer. Why is it used as an anti-cancer? And why is it making hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions at this juncture? Because in studies, PSK is shown to have anti-metastatic properties. And I'm listing the studies here, so y'all can go check this out. Y'all don't got to take my word for nothing. Y'all can go check this out for yourself. What are anti-metastatic properties? When cancer starts to spread, they call that metastasizing. When it goes from one place to another in the body and takes over that new place, that's called metastasizing. PSK is a polysaccharide in the turkey tail mushroom, commercially being sold in Asia as Krestin, And one of the reasons why is because it has anti-metastatic properties, i.e., it slows down metastasis. And if you take enough of it, it can really significantly deal with the concept of cancer not spreading. So day one, you find out that you have cancer as a potential adjuvant therapy. You can start taking this, and you know what, you can start breathing easy because you can look at science saying that it has anti-metastatic properties. It can slow down, if not stop, metastasis. And at the very least, it's going to aid you in that in some way, shape, or form. PSK studies has also shown to have chemoprotective properties. Chemoprotective properties. What does that mean? So cancer, what it does is it takes over cells. It'll take a healthy cell, metastasize, cling on to that cell, reprogram that joint, and make it a cancerous cell now. And now it's doing the bidding of the cancer. You feel what I'm saying? What chemoprotective properties do, the chemoprotection that it gives is what it does. It actually covers it makes it to where the cancer cannot take over the new cell. It protects the healthy cells from actually becoming cancerous. So the day you find out you get cancer, you can find some form of PSK, and again, not only understand that you're beginning an anti-metastatic adjuvant therapy on yourself, but you're also giving yourself a chemoprotective therapy, i.e., adjuvant therapy, i.e., you're making sure the cancer is not spreading. You're doing something day one to make sure to help the cancer not spread. You're doing something day one to help protect your healthy cells that have not already been infested with cancer. Again, your day one, you can know that you're doing something to help stop the spreading of the cancer cells, and then you can also know that you're doing something to protect the cells that are already healthy still and have not been touched by the cancer, so that they won't get cancer. Now, here's another reason why this concept, or this PSK or Krestin, is an approved anti-cancer drug in Asia. PSK in studies has been shown to have sensitizing properties. Sensitizing is a big deal when it comes to cancer, because cancer goes unseen in the system. And so even if you're on regular just chemo and radiation, etc., right? This has been shown in studies. PSK, what it does is it'll cling. Long story short, it'll cling to the cancer cells that are being unseen by the body's natural killer cells or white blood cells that want to take out the cancer in the body. The body knows that it's there. It can detect it. It just can't see it. It can feel it. It can feel it. It's there. It can see. It's like, hey man, something's going on. But the white blood cells are on patrol. But they're in the wrong place at the wrong time. You feel what I'm saying? They're it's almost like they're sleeping on the job, but they're not sleeping on the job because they're going right past these joints, but they can't see them. What the PSK does is it sensitizes, i.e., it binds to the cancer cell and makes it to where either the chemotherapy or the radiation, etc., or the white blood cells themselves can actually see the cancer and do work, go to town on them. They can lead the charge and just call it a day, right? They not call it a day like it's all done over, but I'm saying call it a day in the sense where like they don't got to worry about not seeing the cancer right then and then. When it's being sensitized, it can do something about it. Whatever, either the immune system, the natural immune system, or whatever other main source of therapy you're doing, the PSK will help you in terms of helping that therapy or your body see the cancer and deal with it. So the concept of these adjuvant therapies is the fact that they won't be disruptive to the what any other form of therapy that you choose to use. It will actually help. It'll at the very least be neutral and not affected, or you're going to find that they amplify. And in this sense, you're going to find that for instance, PSK, if nothing else, amplifies whatever you're dealing with in terms of an anti-cancer, um, the known anti-cancer therapies and treatments and whatnot. So as an adjuvant therapy, like turkey tail and PSK will not only not interfere, it will help out even a little bit more. What else does it contain? It contains a polysaccharide called PSP, which is a highly water-soluble constituent. And I'm going to break that down in a second as to why that's important to know. PSP in studies has been shown to inhibit HIV replication in vitro. There's a big thing to understand about in vitro and in vivo, etc. In other cases, I'll break that down on a whole other video. But what this means is, if you have HIV, at the very least, as an adjuvant therapy, something that you add on to whatever you're taking, the PSP will help in some way, shape, or form inhibit the replication of HIV in your system. I'm not saying it's the one-stop shop, but as an adjuvant therapy, none of the adjuvant therapies are a one-stop shop. They help out other things. But if you have HIV, it's beneficial to know that PSP has been shown in studies to inhibit the replication of HIV in vitro. And again, you can see the study. When you go further into understanding that, it contains a polysaccharide peptide, it contains polysaccharide peptides, CVP, and RSPS. It's refined version. And the interesting thing about these particular polypeptides is that they show anti-tumor and immunomodulating properties. They will help make a tumor go away. And this concept of immunomodulating properties is the fact that modulation is a very big deal when it comes to medicinal things, in the sense to where modulators, they're almost, think of them like traffic guards. They keep the flow of things proper. Like they make sure things don't get gunked up and whatnot. Like, so for instance, they'll make sure that there's enough of something and not too much of something. Modulators are very good for that. And when it comes to medicine, it's nice having a little bit of wiggle room, in the sense to where you don't ever want to do too much. You know what I'm saying? Because too much can have a lot of bad issues, bad side effects and whatnot. And you don't want to do not enough, because not enough doesn't treat the issue. So modulators help in naturally finding a balance. So when it comes to cancer and whatnot, there's different type of cells that go out and do certain jobs and whatnot in terms of fighting cancer. And so once, for instance, you have a sensitizing happening, for instance, with the PSK, to where, like, okay, now the system knows what's going on, or it can start doing some stuff. All right, cool. Now you want to make sure you have enough troops on the field, and not too many troops on the field, so they're not standing on top of each other. That's the importance of like modulators and whatnot. Is they try to bring out just the right amount of troops in the field. And again, you can see the studies for that. The turkey tail also contains the polypeptide SPVC, shown to significantly inhibit the growth of leukemia cells. Significantly inhibit the growth of leukemia cells. And again, you can go check out the study for that yourself. So that, for instance, like in Asia, that Krestin drug, it's used for, I believe, lung cancer, colon cancer, breast cancer, sarcoma, carcinoma, Here it's being studied to help, like it's shown that it's shown to be very effective against breast cancer, prostate cancer, etc. There's a reason why it makes as much money as it does. It's effective. It as an adjuvant therapy, it's effective. So day one, I just want y'all to know this: day one, the day you find out you have cancer, before you've done any other therapy in terms of like before you've done your first radiation treatment, before you've taken your first chemotherapy, etc. No matter what form you take, uh, before you have any surgery, etc. If you choose to go that route, before you go the alternative route, for instance, right? As an adjuvant, something you can add on to it. I'm not saying the main base form, but something you can add on to it that it can start giving you some peace of mind knowing, bam, I'm taking something that has anti-metastatic properties. It's keeping the cancer from spreading. I'm taking something that has chemoprotective properties. See what I'm saying? Chemoprotective properties. So I'm protecting the healthy cells that don't have cancer. I'm doing something for that, right? And I'm doing something to sensitize the cancer in my system to where my system can see it, and it also whatever other form of therapy I choose to use, that's non-invasive. I guess non-invasive being non-surgical. That whatever form of therapy I choose to use, that's going to be like maybe the hormone therapy, gene therapy, the chemo, whatever. Like like I know I'm doing something to help my body help that see the cancer as well. Help that have a better effect with the cancer as well. I got to double check about the hormone therapy. Don't quote me on that one. But again, the study I do quote, it does talk about the sensitizing helping with chemotherapy, etc. So at the very least, day one, family, I want y'all to know you don't got it. Like once you get that kick in the stomach, that punch in the gut, yeah, you're gonna get the wind knocked out of you. But here's a little bit of air for you, real quick. Here's a little bit of oxygen. Just breathe real quick. It ain't that bad. Doesn't have to be that bad. There's something that you can have access to right now that's already an approved cancer drug, pharmaceutical in Asia. Again, already there, already on that status, already on that status. You dig? So it's not like it's like a rinky dink kind of adjuvant, right? You can know that there's a lot of studies that have happened that have gone into this, which is again why this is a multi-million, several hundreds of millions in sales already, if not billions at this point, because that's an old number. That's an old number. And again, the pharmaceutical companies are doing their best in this country now to try to do the same thing, and I do believe they're trying to do it with a non-natural, with a synthetic version. A synthetic version. You can take the natural version for dirt cheap. For dirt cheap in comparison to cancer drugs, etc. And I'll do another video where I do a price comparison in terms of how they're manufactured in a consumer, almost like a consumer report on the different types of manufacturing styles and potencies and all that type of stuff, and the best bang for the buck, etc. But again, I can't stress this enough. Day one, you can confidently start doing something that you know will, at the very least, help you in stopping uh, the spread, the metastasis of the cancer. You know that you can do something that will help protect the healthy cells. It will help the body to see what's going on. And if you get the proper breakdowns and whatnot, you can even get some anti-tumor and some immunomodulating effects. etc. That's some really important stuff to understand. I can't stress that enough. Already an approved cancer drug. You see this expiration date 2007. You know what I'm saying? That's a minute ago, fam. How many people you know since 2007 got cancer? How many people you know since 2007 had got that punch in the gut, that sit down? They heard that C word and killer just flashed. I'm dead. Just flashed through their mind. How many people you know since 2007? Did you know that in 2007 that there was an approved cancer drug that they could have started taking right off the top, or the equivalent thereof here, before they get scheduled for anything else? It gives them a better fighting chance. I know a lot of people since 2007. A lot of people, family, friends, and now myself. You know what I started doing? I started mega dosing this. Mega dosing this. Mega. Look at this here, right? You can find all kind of different forms of this stuff here, right? I found I'll show you the form I used at one point in time, but like again, mega dosing it, mega dosing it. Because I knew it could. I knew it. I know it does this here. I know it does that there. So real quick, on day one, if you're armed with this information, when you go to find some consumer products or whatnot that contain what you're looking for, there's some things you need to know because not not everything is made or created equal in this. So this is the last part that I want y'all to focus on. Um, I apologize if I ran this on too long. I kind of get a little passionate about this stuff. I feel some kind of way about this topic because, like I said, I've known a lot of people heard that C word, and it just changed. It changes your life forever. You don't wake up the same ever. And I knew people who were afraid, and it really affected how they dealt with it. And I knew people who knew what I was talking about, jumped on it, and it changed how they were able to deal with their situation dramatically. I'm saying you're not going to beat cancer being scared. You're going to have to find some moment of resolution. I can tell you that right now. All the people that I've seen beat cancer, that's what that's they had. They're telling me they had to bite down and hunker down and make like, okay, I'm I will not go softly into that good night. I will rage at the dying of the light. This is one way you can rage. And if you're gonna rage at the dying of the light, there's something you need to know. Hot water extracts dried into a powder can contain both PSK and PSP. You can find them like basically together because like this is where I told you PSP is very water soluble. I.e., it can be extracted very well in water extractions. Um, so you can find hot water extracts that have been dried into an extract powder. This is a very, very concentrated, potent form. And they can contain both PSK and PSP. However, they can also be specifically labeled and separated to where the hot water extracts can be dried into a powder and can be isolated to where it's separate. You can get a bottle of PSK and a bottle of PSP. In terms of finding it in a capsule form, because you're typically going to find these powders in a capsule form. Sometimes you can find them the extract powders. Sometimes you can find them in bags and whatnot. That's fantastic. But you can find the specific extracts of PSK and PSP sometimes in separate isolated form. That's a fantastic thing when you know what you need. When you know what you need, and you know what you want to focus on. Moving on, the hot water extracts with the glycerin base, this is still liquid, can contain, again, both PSK and PSP. And the hot water extracts with the glycerin base can also be isolated. So if you're looking for one versus the other, you want to find isolates. You don't want to find just the regular, where it just says turkey tail, because you're gonna get more of other things than what you're just looking for. So if you want to be specific about it, you can try to find isolates. There's certain times you want both. Certain times you want both, so you do want to take both at the same time, or you do want to take you can take the isolates together, or you can take the just the extracts of the turkey tail in the manner is here, where it's hot water extracted, and get both. Now the non-hot water extracts with an alcohol base will still contain bioavailable PSK, meaning bioavailable meaning that it's just absorbable to the body, right? But again, the non-hot water extracts with an alcohol base, it has far less bioavailable PSP. So again, PSP is highly water soluble. It's not something that gets pulled out very well in alcohol. So like if you get just the turkey tail like with an alcohol base to it, you're most likely going to get more PSK than anything. Again, not a bad thing if that's what you're looking for. But if you're getting it thinking that you're getting PSP, you're not really getting it, because you need the hot water extracted form of that. Now, another form that a lot of people try to turn to because it's the cheapest form are the dry. And this is the funny part is they are the cheapest form, but you can actually find some of the hot water extracts that are dried into a powder that are actually the same price as this right here. And it's easy to get them confused. So I want you to pay attention to this. There's dried hot water extract powders, or dried extract powders. I'll just leave it at that. Dried extract powders. And then there's dried mushrooms ground into a powder. The dried mushrooms ground into a powder are a far more inferior product to the extract. Far, like this is like this would be like the difference between like hay and hemp. You know what I'm saying? Like hemp being like the hot water extract dried into a powder, and the hay being the dried mushroom. Like if you feed your animals hay, right? They'll survive. It'll get them through. But if you want them to be robust, you give them a more robust feed. So let's say I give them hemp or nettles or something like that, right? These have been shown to be a superior feed to hay. If I have it available to me at the same price as the hay, I should give my animals a superior feed. I should do the same thing for myself when it comes to medicine. These dried mushrooms, like they're a really cheap form of things, right? But if you're trying to have an adjuvant therapy, you have to use a very large amount of the dried mushrooms to have a beneficial effect. And if you actually have an illness going on or something that's going on, it's hard. A lot of times it's hard to actually digest that amount of dried mushrooms. Very, very fibrous, and as someone once told me, it can make the bowels a little bit loose if you have to take a lot of it. I can also tell you this, that there was a loved one that had my father. He was able to take the PSK extracts and whatnot, and cancer wasn't his issue. He got hit with the dioxin, Agent Orange and whatnot, and so he was taking we found a mushroom that broke up Agent Orange, broke up the dioxins. But what we found was only the dried mushroom form. We weren't able to find a hot water extract, either in a glycerin base or in a liquid form or in a dried powder form. So we weren't able to actually give him the most potent form he could find. And so, not that it didn't help, it just couldn't help enough. It didn't have. There's no as I could have given him a mountain load of this stuff because it was the dried mushroom. He wouldn't have been able to digest it, and he wouldn't have been able to get enough of the proper constituent out of it. So I want y'all to pay attention to the fact like when you're buying this stuff, look at the labeling and make sure you want it to say extract if you can get it. You know what I'm saying? If you cannot, the dried mushroom is better than nothing. You see what I'm saying? It's definitely better than nothing. But again, I will be doing a video breaking all that down, breaking down all the different consumer report kind of concepts on it. But I'm going to leave it there for right now. And I want to tell y'all that I appreciate y'all for tuning in. And again, I just want to leave y'all with this. I got some people that I know who are worried about me because they're worried about what they would be feeling or what they'd be going through if they heard the cancer word. And I love them for their concern. I love them for their concern. I also got people that are really close to me, like my mother and other people and people who know what I know. They're not afraid because they've had this help themselves. They've used this adjuvant therapy themselves, and they know its own. They know how effective it can be. So I'm sitting here with the full knowledge that I have cancer, but I'm not scared. I have a calm frame of mind moving forward, dealing with this and confronting the many different things I have to change about my life. For instance, a lot of people understand that you got to change a lot of dietary things, you got to change a lot of stress things, you got to change a bunch of stuff to be able to counteract this stuff properly, right? So one of the nice things about these adjuvant therapies is while you're figuring out the proper therapy to get done, you're still doing something in the meantime that's proactive. Like I don't have the monetary means to necessarily switch my diet to what I need to right now, right? So I'm making slow moves and I'm also making other moves to get the monetary means there, right? So in the meantime, here's the adjuvant therapy that I can still afford. Like I live on a very fixed income and I can still afford to take this. I can still afford to take a hot water extract of the turkey tail mushroom. It's not a PSK isolate, but there's PSK in that joint. Now, at one point, if I can free up a little bit more money, I can jump straight to the isolate, etc., etc., etc. There's ways to walk up this. There's more than one way to skin a cat, as my father always told me. So with that, family, I just want to tell you, like, you can do something the day you find out that you have cancer, even before you've really mapped out what way you're going to go with it. And it can be just as simple as dropping something under your tongue, putting a couple of drops in some water, or taking a capsule. So below, I've put in the description, I've put all my notes, and I've put links to how you can get at me via the email, and also a direct link to the Facebook group that has that file in it. It's an open Facebook page, Facebook group. It's public. So please come through. If you have any questions, get at me. I'm not a doctor. I don't treat anybody. I'm not trying to treat anybody. I'll tell you how I treat myself. I'll tell you what I do for myself in terms of therapy, and what I would do if I was in a certain situation. But again, I invite all of you to go check out those studies that are listed. I'm not making up the information that's there. I'm using the information that's there. And again, I just want y'all to understand the on day one, you can take something that's already an approved anti-cancer drug in Asia. And with that, I say do not go softly into that good night, but rage at the dying of the light. In peace and love.